How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the... Oh, wait. The Bronze Age.
Yeah, we're reviewing a Bronze Age, but this is still the Lost Heroes of the Golden Age format.
You said you only do that if it's something interesting.
Well, first of all, this was a request video. Second of all, this was the first African-American heroine in comic books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't read the story?
I got a little distracted.
You were too busy staring at the hot, scantily clad women in the Hellrider stories, weren't you?
You were staring at them too.
I'm not going to say that I wasn't staring at them, but at least I took the time to read the story. Yeah, we're doing the Butterfly that comes out of Skywald. Now, this is... I think this was published by Canadian Comics. This was more of a magazine than it was a comic book, but it still was a comic book format. And the Butterfly is the first African-American heroine in comic books. This came out in 1971. And I guess it was a prelude because we have a lot of African-American superheroines now. And this was pretty interesting enough. I would have liked to have seen more of the stories and the issues that they could have come up with. They only did 2. And the first one I thought was really innovative. There were 3 different stories. Hellrider, Butterfly, and the Wild Bunch. And each one of the stories played into each other. You have to read all 3 to get the full range of the story, and if you skipped one of them, some of the stuff wouldn't make sense, and that was really great. They didn't do that for the second one, which was kind of disappointing. They could have done it again. So the first one was really good. Butterfly has no origin story. She just has her powers. She is non-powered. She has a costume that works with her, and a jetpack and strobe lights. So we're going to go with technology-based superheroine. So, this, like I said, this is a request video, and I do appreciate seeing comments on either the hero I'm covering or what you think of my presentation in general. I mean, I'm always open for criticism. It makes my videos better when I know what I can change. Hence the more open format here. So, let's go ahead and cover this heroine from the Bronze Age. And like I said, if you got any more requests, I'm always up for doing them. The Butterfly, Maria Michaels, first appeared in Hellriders #1 in 1971. The publisher is Skywald, and it was created by, well, there's a number of different names here. Gary Friedrich, Ross Audrey, and Mike Esposito. I probably just butchered the hell out of those names. Now, this, the first appearance of the Butterfly became a lot more involved than I thought it was going to. There were 2 stories for the Butterfly. She appeared in Hellriders 1 and 2. And there were 3 stories. There were 3 sets of stories introduced in the first Hellrider. It was the Hellrider story, the Butterfly story, and the Wild Bunch story, and they all played into each other. They were different stories for each character, but they all played into each other's story, which they didn't do the same thing for the second magazine. This is a magazine. It wasn't really a comic book, but it was comic book type. And I really wish the second story had played into like the first one did. Now, from what I've been able to tell is the Butterfly had already existed, because this wasn't an origin story. She was already there. She has the ability to fly. She has these wings that allows her the glide, and the jetpack that she wears allows her to fly. She has these suction cups on her fingers, which allows her to stick to objects and can even stick at a higher rate of speed, as she sticks to a car going 100 miles an hour, and at one point she sticks to a helicopter as well. Along with the wings, she has these patterns of lights that are illuminated in the wings, which can blind someone if they stare directly at them. And it's strobe lights. It doesn't exactly blind the enemies unless they're staring straight at them. Now, some of the interesting things about this is this magazine was definitely for mature audiences. This was something that is not for children. And she is also the first black superheroine in comics. Now, even though she was published by Skywald, she is a public domain superhero. And the reason why is they didn't have the right copyright notice on her. In 1971, there was a certain way that you were supposed to do copyrights. It wasn't followed correctly, so as soon as her story was published, she went into the public domain because they didn't have the proper copyright notice. Now, in her story, it's Hell Rider, which is the character, the Butterfly, and the Wild Bunch. Now, I haven't done research on the other two, so I don't know if the entire thing went into a public domain, but considering they didn't get the copyright right for her, I wouldn't be surprised if the other two were part of the public domain as well. Now, we are going to cover her first story. She has two. Now, the first story, we find out that she has to deal with this criminal called the Claw, and he has a whole bunch of henchmen that are dressed up as cats. That's what they called them. Now, the Claw first appears in the Hell Rider story, goes to confront the Butterfly because one of the characters in the Hell Rider story sent something to Maria that was heroin-laced dancing boots. Don't ask. I don't think that when the heroine or the lady from the first story sent it to our heroine, she didn't realize there was heroin, I know, in the boots. And then the story got wrapped up of who the Claw was in the Wild Bunch story. The Claw turns out to be the uncle of Hell Rider, who gave him a job at his law firm, and he wanted the heroin so he could sell to build his empire. But that doesn't have anything to do with... I mean, the Butterfly does fight him directly. So that's how her story plays into the other two. And she uses... The Hell Rider is a lawyer, which is her lawyer, and the Wild Bunch are actually friends of hers. So like I said, they all play into each other. They all interact. She has her story, and she's also in the Wild Bunch story as well. Now, the third story, which is technically the second story, is a self-contained story. There's an assassination attempt that looks like it's on a senator, but they're actually after a undercover FBI agent. And I'm gonna read this paragraph from the second story. Moments later, after the helicopter has unloaded its costume passengers and departed the scene, a meeting begins inside the warehouse. A gathering of sick, distorted minds, such as the country has not witnessed since the Ku Klux Klan's rule of the terror had held the South in its deadly grip. My fellow members of the Crimson Order, I, your Grand Master, bring you glad tidings on this night. And he says that together they are closer to achieving their goal of erasing, and I'm quoting here, the Black Blight. And I've read that and I was like, oh, good Lord. They attempt to electrocute her, and she breaks free and brings down the leader, who happened to be the senator, who the undercover FBI agent, a black man named Tony Morris, was trying to protect the senator at the beginning of the story when he was actually the target, but he didn't know that at first. But the racism is strong in this comic. But yeah, the first story, it's like if you read all three stories, you'll see the way they blend in together. And like I said, the second story is a self-contained story. So let's go ahead and review the story, and then you might get a better idea of where they were going and what they were doing with the butterfly. And it's slightly interesting. So let's go ahead and do this. Las Vegas, American mecca of frequent losers looking for that one big break. Home of the biggest names in the entertainment field and the biggest cash bundles on earth. Starting point of the career of the would-be star Maria Michaels, one of the young hopefuls trying to break through in Sin City, USA. Las Vegas, American mecca of organized crime in spite of close scrutiny by the state's gaming commission. City where top syndicates heads gather by the hundreds to plot their next step in gaining a stranglehold on nation's economy. A place where soon the mere flapping of wings may strike terror into the black hearts thanks to the unheralded coming of the butterfly. Yeah, real intimidating. Although I don't really have a problem with the second text, the first one is the Las Vegas is really a mecca for losers. I mean, that's what it says. I mean, people, I don't see that. Okay, this was 1971, so maybe it's different, but I know people who go honeymooning in Las Vegas, and they're quite successful people go to Las Vegas. I find it hard to be a mecca of losers. I mean, yeah, Sin City, USA, I don't have any problem with that. That's absolutely what it is. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But really, the mecca for losers? Okay. I will be referencing the first story a couple times. And in the backstage of the dressing room of the world-famous desert village, what does this mean? Why would anybody threaten me? Especially over something as meaningless as a pair of boots. Okay, the message says not to wear the boots on stage. Apparently someone wanted her to leave the boots in the back, but she puts the boots on anyways. And then she gets a knock on the door telling her that she has a 2-minute curtain call. And she gets ready to go on the stage. And, okay, the afro is a wig. And you see she looks resplendent. I'm guessing she looks resplendent. There's no color in these, so we're just going to have to use our imagination for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the Desert Village is proud to present Miss Maria Michaels. I don't know what the Desert Village is. I'm guessing it's one of the entertainment buildings there. I don't really know too much about Vegas. Opening night in Las Vegas, a dream of any performer. So she gets onto stage and she starts singing. And why are there so many things gleaming? I mean, the microphone's gleaming. Her earrings are gleaming. Okay. Now, she does start to sing and she's gaining comments from the people in the crowd, and apparently she is very good. The audience begins to really pick up. You just got to hear this girl. I'm trying, baby. Just hold it down on the ring-a-ding-a-ding. Like 70s. So I can hear her, and she singing a tune. These gentlemen. Some sound. We should get her on laughing. Forget the show. How do we get her to my place? So she performs, and apparently the crowd is very taken with her. Now, after the show is over, she goes back to her room, and when she opens the door, there's a villain there. This man is the Claw. He was first introduced in the first story. And then she gets grabbed by these villains, henchmen dressed like cats. Come from the first story. They tell her that they basically want the boots. The boots, I had almost forgotten. The note I received. But why should they want them? It has to be more than just autograph hunters. And why were they wearing these nutty costumes? Now, they don't actually say in this story why they want the boots. Okay, no, I don't believe they did. But they do say in the first story, and the revelation of the first story comes to fruition in the third story, the lining of these boots, and I don't know why they would do it in boots, the lining of the boots have heroin in them. And it's apparently enough that they're willing to go to drastic measures. So this is the Claw, the villain. These are the cat henchmen, and she's got boots filled with heroin. She doesn't know this, though. All she knows is that a performer friend of hers from the first story gave her these boots on opening night for good luck. And the girl who gave her the boots also didn't know about the heroin. The only people that seem to be aware of this are the Claw and his henchmen. Okay, so she says, look, I'll help you out. You just got to let me know. Or let me go. And as soon as they let her go, she reacts quickly. She shoves the Claw out of the way, turns off the lights, and ducks into another room. And they're like, draw your weapons, we need to kill her. So we see the darkness and we hear some sounds. Wop, wop, wop. They're almost through. One more blow. There. I'll be ready for them. The door busts open, and then there is a light that's so bright it's almost blinding. Close your eyes or lose your sense of sight forever. She got dressed quick. I will spare you this time for reasons which you may not understand, but be warned, if any of you ever face me again, you will not be so fortunate. And she goes out the window. And soon after that, you can even see the door is broken, so they did break through. The Claw comes in, turns on the light, and wants to know where the girl is. Let's see. You imbeciles, you let a mere girl trick you. But she couldn't have gone far. The only way out is through the window, and it's 5 stories straight down. So they look out the window, and they don't see her anywhere, but she did leave the boots behind. So they say, what happens to her becomes immaterial. Now let's get out of here. They don't really care what happened to the girl or the fact that a butterfly showed up. I don't think they knew she was the butterfly. All they really want is the boots. So as they get out of there, but the girl has seen us, maybe she'll call the cops. So what? We're going, so what? Where we're going, there's no way they could ever find us. So, there's like, well, the cops are coming. Well, they're never going to find us. So we find out that she's actually above the window. They never did look up. They only looked down, which makes sense. There wasn't a fire escape or anything. So she waits for them to pull away, and as they pull off, she releases from the building. She said she left the boots there so she could follow them. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So they take off, and she goes in behind them. They're getting out of town. Better move in closer. Not much chance of anyone seeing me in lower altitude once we're out of the city. And now this is where she mentions about the jetpack. I mean, you can see the stream coming from her back. That's more like it. Now it's only a matter of hoping they don't fly so far as my fuel pack runs out, which could be a good cause for concern. So since she wants to conserve her fuel, she decides to do something that would be considered a little drastic. She's going to use the suction cup fingertips that she used to hold onto the wall to grab onto the car. You can see them right here, the finger cups, she calls them. So she attaches herself to the hood, and one of the guys thinks that he hears a noise, and he's just like, I think I heard a noise. Sure you did. The desert's full of hitchhiking eagles. Now calm down, will you? Although I'm not saying that you're wrong about the hitchhiking eagles, do eagles really climb onto a vehicle while they're driving? I mean, am I the only one that thinks that statement is completely stupid? Okay, so she manages to turn off her fuel canister, and she says, The adhesive cups are working fine. Now I have to turn off the power pack. No easy trick at 100 miles an hour, but I have it. Is a limousine really going to the desert capable of getting 100 miles an hour? I don't know. How fast do 1971 limousines? What's their top speed? Hold on. Okay, an average limousine can get about 110 miles an hour, but maybe she was just saying 100 miles an hour is hyperbole. I mean, that's pushing a limousine to its limits. Nothing to do but enjoy the ride until we find out where we're going. An hour later. If we don't get there soon, I'm going to catch my death. Probably will be too stopped up to go on tomorrow night. Okay, and then she sees a helicopter into the distance. So she goes ahead and detaches herself from the car. She doesn't want to be seen attached to it by the pilot or any one of them. So she reignites her jetpack and flies above so she can get an idea of what's going on. Is everything ready for the trip? Roger, Claw. I've radioed the commune. They're eagerly awaiting your arrival. Then let's go. I mustn't delay any second longer. So she's flying above them. And let's see. That's what I was afraid of. They're going somewhere in the helicopter. Now, I can only hope it isn't too far and they don't fly too high. If it's too much of a trip, I'll have to turn back and lose them. So she's judging on whether or not she can stay with them. She says she's got about 45 minutes of power left and 15 minutes in reserve. That's an interesting clock you have there to tell you how much power is in a jetpack. So she's making a determination of whether she wants to let them go with the boots or whether she really wants to pursue them. I mean, okay. So she's following the helicopter and finally she makes her decision after 25 minutes time. This is it. Another couple of minutes and I'll only have enough fuel to get me back to Vegas. So she swoops in below the helicopter blades, which is very impressive because the helicopter blades, we talked about this when we were doing the Black Terror. They move really fast. She would have had to have high-arced out and under to get past the blades. And it shows her swooping in from above and diving down, not swooping up and under. You're not diving down through those blades, girl. I don't care how skilled you are or the fact that you have a jetpack. Those blades would have torn you apart if you flew straight down on it. It's not an airplane. It's a helicopter. It's a completely different thing altogether. So she does make contact to the side of the helicopter. This is probably the first time an aircraft has ever hijacked from outside. But then, no pilot has ever placed the butterfly before. Now, she slides open the door and she says, hand me the boots and I won't make you fly to Cuba. I have no idea. I honestly don't have any idea. That just seemed like a very random non sequitur. Okay, so she swings in and when she's holding onto the side of the helicopter, the jets are still on. But when she swings in and she's standing there, the jets aren't on, but we don't ever see her reach to turn them off like when she attached to the car. So she kicks one of the guy in the face and gets to heal in the eye of the other one. Oh, I didn't see that before. Ouch. Hold it right there. I don't know what kind of game this is, but I do know that it seems to be my move. The slightest motion from you will result in your death. But she already had her wings unfurl, and she's like, you're right, it is your turn, but you wasted too much time. And she shines the bright lights, and it gets into his eyes, and one of the henchmen decides to run at her, which she dodges out of the way. So he falls, and I'm assuming that he's falling to his death. I'm not going to say she killed him, because she didn't push him out. She only moved out of the way. So, assisted, but not direct cause of? Okay. Now, if you don't mind, I'll be taking these, and don't be getting any ideas of playing hero. You're playing the hero. So she grabs the boots, and they're still holding their eyes. Glad you got the message. Now, for you, I don't know what's so important about these boots. What that Julie gave me. Julie was from the first story. That was the pop star that gave her the boots. But I intend to find out. After I do, I imagine I'll be seeing you again. And she flies out of the plane, but she doesn't have enough reserves in the tanks to get back to Vegas. So she's got to ditch her costume and see if she can't get a ride back. So first I'd better get out of this costume. No one will pick me up if I look this way. No, I mean, if you classify yourself as a superhero, there are many people who would, you're a superhero or a hero? I'll help you out. Yay. Okay. So she buries it. She says she's going to bury her costume and come back for it later and hope she doesn't die of pneumonia. Now, I know what you might be thinking. She's in the desert. Yet deserts can get rather cold at night. That is a common theme of deserts. Blistering hot at the daytime, freezing cold at night. And she's wearing next to nothing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Anyways, she hides the costume. That wasn't so tough. And I marked the spot so I'll be able to find it okay. Good thing I folded my paper clothes into the wings, because it'd be pretty hard with hitchhiking in my birthday suit. And then you'd get a lot of people stopping to get you. Then again, oh yeah, and then she even says it. Then again, maybe that would have helped me get a ride if a car comes. Okay, so back at her dressing room at the Desert Village, we see a group of people knocking on the door, and they look rough. Not like the normal people that we saw attending the concert. Now, these gentlemen are going to turn out to be the Wild Bunch. They have their own story next, and they first appeared in the previous story. And they're knocking on the door. They want to see her, but then they find out that she isn't there, and that she might have gone to her lawyer's office. And her lawyer is Brick Reese. Now, this is the interesting about Brick Reese. Brick Reese met and fought the Wild Bunch while he was at a bar, and they were just testing him to see how tough he is. Brick Reese impressed them, and they let him become part of their gang for a while. So Brick Reese was part of the Wild Bunch until Brick got drafted and had to go to war. When Brick came back, he joined his uncle's law firm, who actually turns out to be the Claw. I mentioned that in the opener. And Brick Reese is also a Hell Rider, who he doesn't become Hell Rider until after the events of the war, and Julie gets kidnapped by the Claw, who she mentioned Julie giving her the boots. You see, the whole thing is connected. And even Maria will be in the Wild Bunch story. She won't be the butterfly in the Wild Bunch story because it is their story, not hers. But she does have her part to play in the next story. So the Wild Bunch are going to go off and find... Okay, I thought there was 4 for some reason, but there's 5 of them. Okay, they go off to go find Brick so they can find Maria. And they run into Maria. Maria Michael. Okay, you know who she is. Why did you say her first and last name? That was ridiculous. And we know her first and last name. We've been reading the story. So as they show up, Animal, God, what a break this is. I thought I was going to have to walk back to town. No sweat on that account now, but what are you doing out here in the middle of nowhere? I don't have to explain. I don't have time to explain, but you trust me. She gives them the boots, and she says, hey, I need you, if I give you these boots, I know they'll be safe, and I need you to take them to Brick, which is fortunate because that's where they were heading to anyways. This is all over my head, but we'll do what you say. We're heading to see Brick anyways. You see, Ruby will take you back to town, and we'll check in with you when we hit the big town. Thank you. I know it seems strange, but I swear that it's a matter of life and death. End of the butterfly chapter. And that's the end of her story. Well, that's the end of her as the butterfly. She's in the next story, and her role to play is not as the superhero, but just along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you liked it. I mean, I can always cover Hell Rider and the Wild Bunch if anybody is interested into those. I know the fact that the butterfly was a first in her format obviously made her more intriguing than the other two in a sense. So, like I said, I hope you like this. I hope you stay tuned for more videos. Always appreciate comments and requests. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.